March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and Providence Regional Medical Center in Everett and the Providence Regional Cancer Partnership are proactively raising awareness of the importance of colorectal cancer screenings among Black men in Snohomish County. One recent chilly spring morning, about 20 well-dressed African-American men gathered at Providence Regional Cancer Center in Everett, Washington. They were there to participate in a photo and video session to promote awareness about colorectal cancer, which affects Black men at a higher rate. To find out more about this important campaign, I interviewed Ch'nell Amos, the Senior Communications Specialist for Providence Hospital. For more information about the Cancer Screening and Education Program, you can go to providence.org. Here's that interview. I'm your host, Kevin P. Henry, and this is All the Way Authentic. Anyway, so let's start off with question number one, was just a little bit about the background of, maybe you just tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and PR and that. But then tell me about how this whole project got started.
Okay. My name is Ch'nell Amos. I'm the Senior Communications Specialist for Providence Swedish North. My regions include, Providence, Everett, Colby and Pacific Campus, the Providence Regional Cancer Partnership, who were, pivotal in helping get this campaign off the ground. Then you have Swedish Edmonds, Mill Creek, Monroe, and Providence Medical Group. So I handle the external communications. So whatever you see on the blog, a lot of those articles I wrote on the Providence blog, and the social media that you see across our channels, I handle that for the North Division. And my background has always been in crisis communications of some sort, whether it was working in politics, education. I have a background in both of those, and very little entertainment, although that is the fun side of my job. I actually veered towards more of the crisis area. So healthcare was a natural fit for me, especially coming out of the pandemic. So that's my background. And then as far as the colorectal cancer campaign, the Black Men in Action Against Colorectal Cancer, it's a grassroots initiative that we kind of started in Snohomish County out of the blue, really. Just being in the right place, right time, and seeing an opportunity. But it's aimed at promoting colorectal cancer screenings, specifically for Black men. And the project seeks to address the disparities in colorectal cancer outcomes among Black men by increasing awareness and encouraging early detection through screenings.
Well, and so how did you get a hold of the right person to get all those African-American men, including myself, down there and in the wee hours of the morning? I think it was 7 a.m. and the sun wasn't even out at that point. But how did you, because I know that I got this email, I know JJ Frank, and I got this email, hey, this thing is happening and we got to get all the men together. I said, okay, well, I'm down, because I'm up early anyway. But how did you make contact with that group?
It was kind of kismet. I was at an AELPN meeting, which is a networking group for African American leaders and professionals in Snohomish County, led by, Dr. Wally Webster and Dr. Woodard and, Dan Hudson. And I was at one of those meetings and had heard about this 100 Men in Action event that was going to be happening at, I believe, WSU in Everett the very next day. And one of the young ladies in the AELPN group told me about it and said that they were going to be there. And I thought, well, sure, I'm an hour away, but I'll drive up to, support. Even though it was an event geared towards Black men, I certainly didn't want to be the only woman in the room. But they said they were going to be there, so I showed up. I was quite early because I had to go to work, after that. And I met JJ Frank, who was leading that with the Snohomish County Black Heritage Committee, I believe. And I'm always working on campaigns, and I knew that March was Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and this was coming at the end of February. It was a Black History Month awareness event that was taking place, and that room was filled with maybe 230 African American men around.
I was there.
Snohomish County. It was beautiful, and I thought, oh my goodness, colorectal cancer really disproportionately affects African American men. How can I take what I'm seeing here and get this message out to them, because the reality is 40% of Black men who are diagnosed with colorectal cancer die from it, something that's completely treatable. So you take that 230 down to 150 the very next year, and that starts to play in your mind going, this is a health crisis, this is a population health crisis, a Black community crisis, and we need to do something. So I told JJ, hey, you think it's possible that we can get something together pretty quickly? He was like, I'm on board, just tell me what to do. And I got with the Cancer Partnership and we made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, you were in touch with the right people because JJ, Dr. Woodard, Wally Webster, I mean, I don't know when those guys sleep
They don't.
because everywhere I go, they're there, right?
Yes. Yes.
And they're usually involved in the planning of something. It's not like they're just hanging out. They usually work behind the scenes to help make the thing happen. So, what are some of the challenges in like doing a campaign? Because I think when people do things well, such as yourself, you kind of make it look easy. Like, oh, hey, it's the easiest thing in the world just to get 20 Black guys together in the morning and do these really nice videos and et cetera, et cetera. But is it challenging, or are there certain challenges that you run into?
I think really in the work that we do, which always I'd say the root of what we do, no matter how we spear off, its root is still journalism. And journalistic people just don't take no. We don't hear a no, we don't see a no, and no one's telling me I can't do it. So I'm gonna do it. Um, and so I think it helps me to work backwards. I saw the opportunity. I said, okay, who needs to be behind this? So I reached out to the oncology director, Dawn Gilbert at the Providence Cancer Partnership, and her assistant, and told her about it. And then I got with our media team, and they were like, you know what? I think there's a warehouse, and the wheels started turning. I thought, okay, if it's a decrepit warehouse, and I knew that there was a movement going on in the South, where men are dressing up kind of like the 1950s, or 40s, where you just suit, tie, hat, canes, everything. And it's not really just about looking nice. It's just about having pride in our community and presenting ourselves, and then mentorship, indirect mentorship, where young men are seeing these older men dressed up and learning how to tie a tie for the first time, or getting those connections they need. So I thought this could be all of those things somehow. And then I thought, seeing Black men dressed up as I often do, Black men are known for taking pride in their look, even casual looks. Think of the 80s tracksuits and the Adidas tracksuits. You know what I mean? Like, even our casual wear is somehow dressed up, but our insides are just messed up, and we're not receiving the help or access to care that we should be, in a lot of cases. So when I saw this, I thought, well, this warehouse is representative of what could be happening inside of us. It's inside this beautiful building, just like we take care of our outside, and we're not addressing the inside. So I got, we figured out the time, because we didn't want to interrupt patient care at the Cancer Partnership. So that's why we had to meet at 6:45 in the morning. And then JJ, he said he was fairly new to the group himself. So we're both kind of just stepping out on faith. And he sent that email out to everyone for the call. And I never expected to get the turnout that we did. My fingers were crossed that 2 people showed up, much less 15. So that was quite a blessing. And everyone came dressed to the nines and ready to go. And that helps drive it forward, because no matter what obstacles were in the way, I did not want to let you all down. And on a larger scale, I didn't want to let our community down. I have access to this information and I have the means to get the message out, then I need to do that. So there was no for me. And whatever obstacle came, I just thought, well, I'm going to have to jump that hurdle. I'm going to move that mountain and
Well,
keep
that's
going.
well, that's encouraging because, like I said before, there are a lot of organizations in Snohomish County, King County, in this area that really want to do similar work. They want to bring people together. They want to educate the public. They want to build community really by bringing the different people from diverse backgrounds. And everyone plays a role, whether you're a business owner, you're a teacher, you're a teenager. Because, like you
Mhm.
said, seeing those role models are so important. I mean, I'm pretty old myself, but I have vivid memories of being a child and being a teenager and seeing the way certain men carried themselves, black men in
Yes.
particular. And my dad was like that. My dad was, even if he's like, sitting on the porch reading the paper, he's has a certain refined look about it. And I
Yes.
think that
Yes.
you do have to take pride in yourself, but we also have to normalize these conversations about things like cancer or mental illness or other things that are kind of taboo or people are, talk about in hush hush. Because if people are afraid to come out and say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this," or "I've got these symptoms," and I don't,
Mhm.
I'm kind of scared. They need to be encouraged, but they have to feel like they can actually say it to begin with, because as so many, especially men, they'll hide things, and then when they get in there to the doctor, oh, you should have been here a year ago, because now you're at third
Yeah.
stage or fourth stage cancer or something like that. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. Really just remove excuses altogether. Your health has to be front and center. This is not about colorectal cancer, but my grandmother always said you have to take care of your feet. They hold up your whole body. So you have to take care of your insides. When you notice that bloating and discomfort, don't brush it off, especially if you're over, the age of 45. It used to be 50. Now, because so many men and women under the age of 50 are being diagnosed with colorectal cancer and dying from it, they had to lower the age to 45, 30 if you have a family history of colorectal cancer. So don't blow it off. If you're getting a pain, those spidey sensors are telling you something's wrong, just go get checked. That one check or whatever discomfort you are assuming might happen during that type of visit is well worth it compared to chemotherapy and surgery or battling cancer. Just do the checkup. But if anything, one of your questions was why the program is necessary. And if I could lean into that, if we have time,
Oh, of
a
course.
little bit, generally speaking, colorectal cancer is a leading cause of cancer death. It's actually the second leading cause of cancer death in the US. But it's completely treatable, 90% treatable if it's caught early. And according to a report just last year by the American Cancer Society, actually, they put out a report this past January. Colorectal cancer is now the primary cause of cancer related deaths among young men and women under the age of 50. James Vanderbeek, the actor, he just got diagnosed with it. He's 47. Chadwick Boseman died at the age of 43 from colorectal cancer. It's responsible, I think, last year for over 53,000 deaths in the United States. 53,000. And you take that number and think Black men have a higher rate of not just getting it, but dying from it. 20%, 20% higher rate than any other racial group of just getting it, and 40% more likely to die from it. That's almost half. That is almost half dying from something that's not only preventable, but completely treatable and curable if catch it early. So early detection and regular screenings is just so pertinent to our community. Yes, we are not as likely to get cancer as other racial groups, but when we get it, we are more likely to die from it and faster than any other racial group. So if your job is not providing access to healthcare, medical insurance, make those financial choices that you need to make that a priority. Medicare, Medicaid, whatever is available. We know the state of the economy. We know, high blood pressure is more common in Black people. I think just from living as a Black person in general, despite, they talk about it being like a generational crisis and all this, but it really comes down to sometimes coping mechanisms, right? And then millennials started drinking more during the pandemic, kind of drinking their way through it, which creates polyps in your intestines. And I'm not a medical professional in the sense that I'm not a doctor. This is just regular information that's out there. As a medical professional, I'd probably be screaming, to the top of my lungs, shaking everyone, please go get screened. I'm hoping that this summer, the Cancer Partnership always hosts a wellness event, and it's really geared towards skin cancer screening and breast cancer screening. And I'm hoping that we can include colorectal cancer screening. It wouldn't be done right then on the scene, but just to get people signed up, get those referrals out and get everyone checked. Because why not? Why wouldn't you take that quick 30-minute, to an hour session over years of cancer treatment? Do the preventive maintenance while you can, because casket sharp means something different after that diagnosis.
Being able to feel comfortable enough to say, hey, I'm going to go get a colonoscopy next week, and I think things are better now that, it's been normalized to a certain degree, but there's a certain amount of shame sometimes that can be associated with certain types of physical ailments or testing, things like that. And I think seeing more men of all races just being more proactive, I think takes away that stigma to a certain degree.
Exactly.
Is there a website or, social media if people want to find out more about what's going on? How do they
Yes,
do
please
that?
visit us at www.providence.org/colon. You could also just type in Providence colon cancer. You'll see a number of campaigns. If you're in California, sorry, my lights keep going in and out. If you're in California, they actually did a similar campaign, which I didn't find out until after this one was over, that they gathered a bunch of preachers together, pastors in the area, and it was called Speak Life. And so Providence is really behind this initiative, whereas a lot of companies are kind of hitting pause on anything that even remotely seems DEI, just because it's a gathering of Black men, right? But this is a health crisis. This is about cancer prevention. So I hope no one closes their eyes and ears just because they see people of color on it. And that was really the beauty of this initiative, and the people who showed up, all ages were there. So I'm hoping that they see, some of the younger men on there and go, it's okay for me to talk to my doctor, just at least ask about it, even if I'm 31 years old. Or if you're older and you haven't had that screening yet, wake up, go get it, because this is a real crisis in our community. And before we end, just real quick, and if you follow our social media channels, it's Providence Swedish North. That's where you'll see all of these beautiful campaigns that we work so hard to put together. And shout out to, everyone who showed up, you yourself, Mr. Kevin Henry, thank you so much for your participation. Ryan Bailey, Pastor A.C. Darby Jr., Dan Hudson, J.J. Frank, Will Johnson, Clarence Shaw, Mike Simmons, Dr. Paul Stute Sr., Jaleel Vester, Charles Wiley, and Dr. Steve Woodard. Special thank you to all of you, and to Don Gilbert, Karen Salvati for your support as well.
Excellent. That was my interview with Ch'nell Amos of the Providence Regional Cancer Partnership. This has been All the Way Authentic. I'm your host, Kevin P. Henry.